At that time in your life, Mark, if a guy offered you $50K to suck your dick, would you have done it?
Some people are obsessed with losing weight, and so they weigh themselves a lot, and they are always trying to lose weight. That can sometimes end up and develop into an unhealthy relationship.
You can never pay attention to what you weigh on one day versus the next day, because when it comes to the scale, there's different inputs and different outputs.
There's no skinny champions. Like, people would be like, oh man, I got to make the 181s, you know, because it's like, you're going to lift like shit anyway. Like, I hate, I hate to, like, talk shit on people that are new, because it's great that they're doing the sport, but like, you're not going to set the world on fire anyhow.
I thought in order to get the scale to have the number that I want, I have to eat less and move more.
What I think is important is for people to like integrate or incorporate movement into their life.
When you're doing things in the gym and changing your body by gaining muscle, right? And you're eating a certain amount of food that's fueling your body, allowing you to gain muscle in certain areas, you will be losing fat in other areas. PowerProject family, how's it going? Now on this podcast, Mark, Andrew, and I, we talk about fasting a lot. We talk about the ketogenic diet and a lot of different types of diets, but Bubs Naturals has a product. They have the collagen protein, which is amazing. They have these apple cider vinegar gummies, which are like crack, but they have
They are.
They have these MCT oil powder packets that I've never used to do this, but in the morning I'll wake up and I'll put it in coffee, and the smoothness, number one, in terms of the mixing, is amazing, but the consistency of my energy through the day because of the MCT oil powder is peak. Andrew, how's your experience with it?
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. It's like the best way to start the day. You're satiated, you're energized, and you're just ready to crush the day. So if you guys want to get in on this MCT oil powder, head over to bubsnaturals.com, and at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject to save 20% off your entire order. Again, Bubs Naturals, promo code PowerProject to save 20% off. Links to them down in the description, as well as the podcast show notes.
You got some bubs going over there again?
Yeah, I got some hydration.
Salted caramel.
Yes,
Hey now.
salted caramel. And I'm doing that Bubs each day.
I mixed up a real doozy yesterday.
What'd you do?
I did salted caramel steak shake.
Mm-hmm.
I did vanilla, this is the whey protein. I did a little bit of the salted caramel hydration.
Whoa.
I did some milk. I did some caveman coffee nitro cold brew. I mean, it was epic. And some Bubs collagen to get that collagen in there.
You're turning into me.
Yeah, I know. It was like a $75 shake when I got done with it.
Oh, yo, where is
delicious.
that Keto Pro that you put out here?
Oh, I gave it to my brother. I gotta bring it back. I stole it.
He gave it to us and stole it.
That shit was like part of the plan, man.
Oh, it was part of the plan for
That
today?
was part of the fuck.
Oh, now we got to go
right.
get some more.
Enjoy the conversation. I'll be right back.
Go to Casey and steal some from him.
My favorite thing about Nsima's insanely expensive Starbucks drinks, where it was him denying about how expensive it was.
He started getting upset.
Like, hold on, dude. Like, that's at least like $15. Like, no, it's not.
He was acting like we called him white, but I guess we
I
kind of
think-
did, because we talk about Starbucks.
Maybe
and their
that's what it
prices.
had to. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not down with that.
Dude, so they sent some more of those gummies. They're all gone already.
Yeah,
They did not last
the,
longer than a week.
the apple cider vinegar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those things are really good. I keep the lids on tight at my house because I just, if I break the seal, that
It's
little
over.
plastic seal, I don't know why that makes a difference, but once that plastic seal's off, then it's game on for me.
Yeah, well, it's sort of like you were telling me, I don't remember whose technique it is, but like if you have to respond to an email or whatever, like only open it if you are going to actually get it done.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like only open that jar if you're going to eat the whole thing.
Yeah,
You can't just eat some of it.
Yeah, I hate that all or nothing type thing.
You really did get it.
I don't know what I'm allowed to show because, I mean, you haven't started selling it yet, right?
Show whatever you want, big guy.
Okay, I'm going to do the vanilla in here.
We were just saying how you might have been offended by how much your coffee costs because you might have misconstrued it as us trying to call you white.
Wait, what? You need to explain context. You need to explain context.
He's like, I only left for like 60 seconds.
No, I was explaining how like my favorite part about your really like crazy Starbucks drinks back in the day, like about, I don't know, a year ago or so, a little bit more, was how you were like in huge denial that they were very expensive. You're like, no, they're not. You just get one espresso shot. It's only like 99 cents. And then you get the, I can't even speak. And we're like, dude, no way.
Well, the only truth is what you believe.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, it's
so
like...
you believe that they were giving them away.
There's going to be a day he walks through here with a pumpkin spice latte. I know.
Oh, it's going to happen when October comes around. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
looking all thick and juicy with that purple on.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But no, Andrew, there's no way in hell I was going to let you convince me about how tasty, like that my coffee was expensive, because I'm a frugal guy. So not in that sense, apparently, but I had to lie to myself for a period of time to make it okay. It's just how it is.
I'm just glad that you said that you were frugal.
What's this?
It's dead, huh?
God damn it.
What's this fascination with? Oh, now you got two of them.
Oh, what the hell?
That's great.
Backup.
Oh, it worked.
There we go.
That's big time.
Yeah, buddy.
What's the fascination with big wrists that you have going on? Because you claim that your wrist, you claim that you have bitch wrists, but I think you have very nice wrists.
I think I think the reason why I appreciate good sized wrists within a woman is because of my lack of wrists. So I must make up for what I do not have.
You want a lady that can maybe overpower you a little bit here and there.
A little bit, slap me around, slap me around a little bit.
Show
give
you
me a
who
little
the boss is.
Hey, that comment in the last podcast. Andrew, I think we need to read this comment on air real quick. We'll get back to the wrist thing. But this is like feeding into what some of the audience or what a select few.
We have great fans, by the way.
We have awesome fans. I love it when I get roasted by them because, it lets me troll a little bit. But this comment was from our podcast about being explosive. I love this podcast so much, except for when the closeted black dude talks. Would pay for him to be replaced. The fake podcast voice, this voice, makes me cringe. Love when there's a guest only so he doesn't speak as much. And then a guy replied, he also talks a lot about other guys' booties. It just get old and needs to stop. And then the last comment on this, or one of the comments was, yeah, 2 podcasts ago, he was trying to talk about how great it was when his girl fingers him. Like, what the fuck, Brody? I didn't say my girl fingers me. I said that there will be a day when we try it because there's a spot up there and I need to know if it feels good. So it hasn't happened yet, but it will. So whatever.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
Now on the topic of the wrist mark, yeah, my wrists are pretty small compared to the rest of my other joints. I have very large ankles, but small wrists, which is why, I cover them up with watches and beads. But no, wrists, the wrists isn't necessarily the specific thing, but good joints is a sign of long-term health. If somebody has good sized ankles, wrists, bones, they're a sturdy individual, which gravity's going to have a harder time taking them down. Right. And when they're older, they're not going to be like this, probably because their body isn't frail. Their body is strong. It can
have a powerful structure.
And I like a powerful structure. It can take force. That's all. I don't think there's anything weird about that.
I wonder how much that guy was willing to pay.
Yeah, I was going to say, just private message Andrew and I.
$20? Okay, cool. Let's do it.
I was going to mention it yesterday when we had World's Strongest Gay on. I got propositioned. A guy wanted to suck my dick, believe it or not.
Wait, what? Is it in the DMs?
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
No. This was years ago. I was on my way to my car after working a night of being a bouncer when I lived in Los Angeles.
I know.
And a guy followed me to my car.
Oh my God.
And he
that keto pro's good.
Oh,
fuck. That is good. I haven't had that one yet.
That's fucking awesome, isn't it?
It's fucking, I'm sorry. Keep on. It's good though. Congratulations.
Anyway, back to my almost getting my dick sucked story. Anyway, this guy propositioned me. I was like, what? I was so I didn't even know what to think. I didn't know I kind of got real nervous for a second. I was like, what the fuck was that? Whoa. And he said something like, I want to give you a blowjob or something. And I was like,
why not?
I definitely heard what he said, but for some reason I said, what? Which I shouldn't have, because I should have just been like, no, man, I'm good or something. I don't know.
Freudian slip. You were considering it.
Yeah. I was like, let's see what my options are here.
Well, what does he look like? What?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, can you at least throw this wig on? You know?
Yo, wait, was that the end of it?
Well, the guy offered me money.
How much?
And then, so that's what my oldest brother, Mike, he was still around. He's like, so how much did you make? He's like, wait a second. He's like, somebody wanted to pay you. They wanted to give you money to suck your dick and you turned it down? I was like, yeah, man, I don't know. Seem gay. I don't know what's going on. My brother's like, that could have been a great way to make some money.
He's like, little brother, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's like, you know how long I've been roaming around trying to get that same offer?
And I'm imagining that guy probably sucked dick like world class, right? You know?
If he's confident enough to go up to a complete stranger and offer money, like, you know for sure he was good.
Yeah.
At that time in your life, Mark, if a guy offered you $50K to suck your dick, would you have done it? At that time in your life?
It's
or today.
Not today. He's too rich for that today. But you, bouncer, living how you were living, car you were driving, $50K, he's going to suck your dick. What would you do?
I would say no, but who the fuck knows what you would do if you're actually in that situation. Right. They got like cash right there, you know? I don't know.
It's like, I will pleasure you and I'll give you 50 grand.
Yeah, it's like, wait, I get to come? And you're going to give me $15,000?
Oh, man.
And he's done. You're like, can we do this every day? This is awesome.
You remember Sully, who was here?
Oh, yeah. I remember these, yeah.
Oh, man. We'd always have conversations like this. Like,
the best.
All right, $1 million, you got to take it up the ass. What you going to do? And Sully's a devout Christian. He just look at me like, he wouldn't even laugh.
That's great. With his beanie on and his hoodie on.
He was so disgusted by me.
That's great.
Oh, but I have a similar story, man.
He was at the eat the poo poo thing.
Yo, guys, okay, so you guys probably saw the episode where Ostron's gay and we brought up the eat the poo poo video. If you haven't, we didn't play the whole video because of copyright potentially, but that video is an old school, funny internet meme.
A classic.
It's a classic, so you should check it out. But yo, back in 2014, when I was working with Alberto Nunez on my prep, I got this email from this individual who's like, I want to sponsor you. I'm like, and this was like, wasn't sponsored. I didn't know what any of this was, but I was in bodybuilding and I was posting stuff on like IG and stuff. This person's like, I want to sponsor you. I want to pay for your shows and give you like, just like give you money so you can continue going forward. I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then I was like, oh, okay, cool. What's the deal? Like, what do I need to do? You know, because I thought, okay, is it products? What is it? He's like, I'm gonna fly you out to Hawaii and you just need to pose for me. And I was like, he's like, I'll give you $5,000 a month. At that time, that was good, especially on top of what I was making. I'm like, $5,000 a month? But this sounds fishy. I sent it to Alberto.
Posing?
Just posing? I sent it to Alberto. And
in Hawaii?
Yeah, in Hawaii. I'm like, I get a vacation.
Deal.
I get $5,000 a month. What's going on here? This is weird. I sent it to Alberto Nunez. And Alberto was like, dog, this is some weird shit. This is like one of those weird bodybuilding sponsorship things. You know how these bodybuilders get flown out to places? They ain't just posing. They ain't just posing. Anyway, obviously I didn't do it, but
damn, that was on a great opportunity.
That was one of the first sponsorship offers I ever got.
You could have been famous, bro.
I could have been posing in Hawaii for who knows who.
All right, today we're going to talk about the old scale. You know, I'm not sure if people know what to do with it sometimes, whether they should weigh themselves, not weigh themselves. Some people seem to be really caught up with the scale, and they get, like, if they do weigh themselves, they get really, really worried that they gained a pound or gained a couple pounds. Some people are obsessed with losing weight, and so they weigh themselves a lot, and they are always trying to lose weight. That can sometimes end up and develop into an unhealthy relationship. But there's a couple things from a more positive perspective about the scale that I really like. And you have multiple measures. Like, you don't just use just the scale. Use the scale, use the mirror. If you're getting compliments from people, especially people that are close to you, then you know that you're heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
If you haven't had a compliment in a long time, it doesn't necessarily mean you're not heading in the right direction, but the changes might be a lot slower. And that's okay too sometimes. Kind of depending on how far away you are from your goal. But what I've always liked about the scale, and what has always kind of baffled me about like weighing the food and tracking the food, and one of the reasons why I don't track the food is because I just track the system that the food goes into, and I just weigh the system that the food goes into. So if I was to walk around with a bucket all day long and I poured some water out of this bucket throughout the day, and then someone else poured some water into the bucket, the water representing energy out, would I continually weigh the amount of water that's going in and out of the bucket? Or would it be more convenient for me to simply just weigh the bucket every day? So I just weigh the bucket, which is myself. And I found for myself personally that weighing myself frequently is really beneficial and helpful. Mm-hmm. At this point, I don't weigh myself every day. Just sometimes it hits me and I'm like, kind of curious where I'm at. If I feel like I'm trying to lose some weight, I might start to weigh myself a little bit more frequently. If I'm even trying to gain weight, I might weigh myself a little more frequently. Maybe just making sure that any of these processes aren't happening way too slow or way too fast, because I don't think either one is great. So it's been beneficial for me, but I realize that a lot of people can get caught up with it and worry about it too much.
Yeah, man. I think right now I'm doing a mini cut right now. So I've been trending around mid 250s, being around averaging around 255, and I'm going to work myself down to about 240. I'm not giving myself a time limit, but I'll probably be where I need to be in maybe 4 weeks. But the scale is going to be a tool I use every single day. And partially, one of the reasons why I can use it every day and it doesn't bother me is because I hold no emotional ties to the scale. Like, even when I was like heavier and I was coming down, it wasn't like, oh, I'm heavier today, this is a problem. It was, okay, this is how it is. But one of the things that I paid attention to was the averages. You can never pay attention to what you weigh on one day versus the next day, because when it comes to the scale, there's different inputs and different outputs. If you were to drink, literally a pound of water, right, you would be a pound more. And that's of water. It doesn't mean you gained a pound. It means you actually gained a pound of water. And there are so many different inputs. You have extra sodium on one day. You have a bit of extra carbohydrates or extra fiber that you don't usually eat. So maybe you didn't poop as much that day, or that, you're holding on to a little bit more. Let's say you ate more protein than one day versus another. There's so many different inputs that the scale is not always reflective on your progress. But along with all the different inputs that you can have, there's also a bunch of different outputs. For example, on certain days, I go to jiu-jitsu and I sweat a ton. The next day, I could be like 3 pounds lighter in the morning. But the next day after that, if I don't go to jiu-jitsu, I'm up 3 pounds again. So there's this variability. So if you can take that and then think about if you walk more one day than another and it's hotter outside on a certain day and you didn't hydrate as much, you might wake up and the scale's 2 pounds lighter. You're like, oh, fuck yeah. And then let's say that you walked this day, but maybe you walked inside and you weren't sweating as much since you were on the treadmill, and you drank a bit more water, and then the next day you're up half a pound. And you're like, fuck, right? But it's literally, that's why I don't care about what it looks like day to day, but I look at the average of each 7-day period, and that'll give me an idea of, okay, what's really going on here.
I've always liked to lose weight in like a bracket. So like right now I weigh like 235, and if I'm going to try to come down, then I want to start to weigh in between 230 and 235 being the high end. And I also like to do it in stages and phases. So like I might lose a little bit of weight. At this point, like if I was to lose anything more than like 10 pounds, unless I was trying to like cut for something in particular, I just don't think it would be a great idea for me to like continue to lose weight. So I would just lose weight in stages. I would lose weight and then I would maintain, and then I would lose weight and then I would maintain, trying to enhance the body composition. Because if we're just talking about weight, like the scale, it only weighs, it only represents what you weigh. It doesn't show you your body fat percentage. And so I wouldn't want to just keep withering away, losing weight, potentially losing strength, and so forth. So I always like to do it in phases. And when you do it that way and you take your time with it, it just feels like a lot more manageable. Now, I recognize for people that are really heavy, that might be hard because they need to keep that momentum going, and they need to like really stay strict and tight to the plan until they get used to it enough to where it's part of their intertwined with their regular habits. But for myself, that's what's worked really well, is to lose weight in stages all the way from 330. And every time I lost maybe about 20 pounds or so, I would say goodbye to the next, that higher bracket. So I went from 330 to like 310. I would say, you know what? I'm never going to weigh 320 ever again.
Yeah.
I got down to 290. I'm like, I'm never going to weigh 300 again. And I would just kind of continue down. And you do have to give yourself kind of a lot more slack than you would think. Maybe for guys, maybe you got 10 to 20 pounds of slack that you can kind of go one way or the other.
The heavier you are, that's a big deal.
Yeah, and for females that are smaller, normally it might be a little different. And then in terms of the fluctuation of the water weight, it might be about 5 pounds if it's a smaller person or if it's a female, and it might be more like 10 pounds for a bigger dude.
And let's not even forget, for the women, when you're on your period, there's going to be massive fluctuation in terms of the amount of water you hold during that period of time. It's like usually a few days before, there's a little bit more water holding. And that's like why when I was working with people, and I was working with women specifically, on the tracking sheet, I'd have them write down, when's your period start? Because I can see, like, you can then actually look at what the weight looks like when she was on her period here versus when she was on her period last month, and look at the trend there. But the trend is going to be offset for that period of time. And typically it'll be a little bit more. And then right after, it's usually like this, the weight drops right back down to where it should be. But there's what I'm going to do, and I actually shared it with the Discord group already. So if you were in the Discord group, and the descriptions down below, Discord had it first, but I shared with the people in the Discord a tracking sheet that they could use in case they wanted to just track their weight and track different things so that they could pay attention to their averages. Now, we're going to have that in the description box here. You can download it and use it for yourself. But there are also apps, like if you want to use it, MyFitnessPal and other apps. And I think even the iPhone app has an area for you to put in your weight, and it might actually give you your 7-day averages. So if you're not someone who wants to go into a computer and write it all down, you can do that there. But one of the things that I want you guys to pay attention to, especially as you maybe start paying attention to your averages, is what Mark mentioned right there was really dope about bracketing, but you don't want to get too fixated even on your averages. What happens when you start tracking things is there's this level of fixation. Okay, we stop worrying about the scale weight day to day, but now we're worried about the scale weight week to week. And then when the scale weight week to week doesn't average less than the week before, it's like, oh God, I'm not making progress. No, that's not the point of it. If, like, let's say you're the same right now, or you're 0.5 pounds heavier on average than you were the week before, don't tie emotion to it. One of the big things that we got to do here to be able to make long-term progress is trying not to tie deep emotions to potential failure. Okay, I don't think it's actual failure if you're a little bit heavier on average, but a lot of people, they'll look at that and be like, what I'm doing isn't working, and then maybe that's the last fucking straw, and then they quit because they saw a slightly higher average and they're like, this isn't working for me, this diet thing doesn't work. No, it's a win that you're paying attention to these things. And these are just metrics. So all you do is you look at the metrics, you try to be as analytical as possible and be like, what sort of things can I change? Am I walking every day? Oh, this week I wasn't walking every day. I only walked, I think 3 days out of this week I took 10,000 steps, and the other days I took like 3,000. Let me try to walk 10,000 steps each day next week and see what happens, right? It tells you a little bit of something that you can adjust. But it's not something that you want to tie too much to. And you also don't want to do too many drastic things to try to make that scale weight go down. Because that's another problem that happens when people focus too much on the number.
When the weight goes down too much, you'll find your performance goes way down. And we've seen it time and time again with females that we interviewed on the podcast, female CrossFit athletes especially, and with a lot of male athletes as well. But it's more prominent with the females because I think they may have had previously this attachment to like wanting to be skinny, which, by the way, no one cares. No one wants you to be skinny. So hopefully we detach ourselves from that as much as we can. We want people to be fit. Everybody wants to be in shape. That's totally understandable. But to be skinny is kind of like a whole different animal. But what I've recognized is that your output is something that is very, very much undersold. The output that you have in the gym. So what we used to say in powerlifting, are you concerned with the scale weight, or are you concerned with the weight on the platform? Like, people would be like, oh man, I got to make the 181s, because it's like, you're going to lift like shit anyway. Like, I hate to like talk shit on people that are new, because it's great that they're doing the sport, but like, you're not going to set the world on fire anyhow with this first meet. It's your first go of it. Same thing if you were competing in jiu-jitsu or anything else. Just fucking just go and just compete and get your ass kicked, and that's going to be the way that it's just going to be the way that it goes. You got to kind of be humble. But I think that even outside of the powerlifting realm, people are so fixated on the scale weight. They're so fixated on being skinny, and then they don't have any performance output. And it's like, you can't lift anything. You're having a really hard time. And I'm not talking about like being able to squat like 900 pounds or anything like that. I just mean for yourself. Like, if you normally can pick up 275 on a deadlift for a couple reps, and now this new diet that you're on has you feeble with 225, well, we ran into an issue. Because how are we gonna maintain and sustain that? Like, that doesn't sound like a great plan. It's gonna sounds to me like you're gonna have a really hard time following through on all the steps that you're supposed to take walking wise. It sounds like you're gonna put yourself into a hole in terms of being able to gain muscle mass, because we need like a certain amount of resistance, right? So you don't want these diets to turn you into, I think Dan Green put it really well when he said this: there's no skinny champions. You don't want to be like skinny and frail. Now, you could make an argument, maybe a triathlete or a cyclist or some of these guys get really, really skinny, right? For some of this stuff. But like, we want tremendous output. We want to be able to like fucking throw down. Jason Khalipa comes through the door and he wants to do some crazy ass workout. It's like, it would be great just to be able to dive right into that. Or anybody else that comes your way. You should be able to adapt and be able to jump into the workouts. Maybe it's scaled a little different for you versus some other people, but that's always going to happen in that fashion. But your diet should not kill your output.
Absolutely. Like, that's a very big deal. The body is super fucking smart. And if you don't intake enough food and then your workouts start being sluggish, you're also going to notice that your movement's going to end up lowering. The overall movement you do each day, the amount of fidgeting you do, that's called NEAT. Non-exercise activity thermogenesis, that's going to go down. You're not going to be doing as much. And because you're not doing as much, you're not going to be burning as many calories, because the body's like, I'm not eating enough. And people typically do that when they try to force the scale to go down faster than it should. And then boom, their performance goes down in the gym, or because they're not eating enough and they feel sluggish, then they get themselves injured in the gym, and then you're forced to stop doing what you're doing to continue making progress. So like, yeah, you want to be in a caloric deficit, but you still want to make sure. That's why we talk so much about eating whole foods, good nutritious food that's going to help you actually be able to perform well. But there's another thing. When you eat way too much, when you eat in a massive caloric surplus, you also feel sluggish. You know what I mean? Like, you get that feeling after a nice large bowl of cereal, as much as we love fucking cereal, don't get me wrong. I personally, I just want to sit, because the amount of sugar I just ate, it's like, you don't want to go do anything. So you got to make sure that we talked a lot about diet on other episodes. That's not the main thing we're going to talk about here. But I hate this saying. Food is fuel. Okay, food is actually
kind of sounded like Joker.
Yeah, food is fuel. Yeah, but I mean that's very true. That's why we eat the way we do, because and our food is actually good too, but we want to make sure that we're performing well.
But just to throw out a question,
PowerProject family, how's it going? Now, I want to talk to you guys about Within You supplements. This is Mark's supplement line. And the amazing thing is Mark used to be 330 pounds. He was a fat guy. So obviously this stuff tastes really damn good. But another cool thing about Within You supplements is that none of these products are white labeled. Now, what a lot of people do when they come out with their own supplement lines is they do something called white labeling. And white labeling, all that means is there's a supplement that's already out there. They take off the tag of that supplement, they put their name on it, and now it's their supplement line. Quite literally, there's nothing else like Within You supplements out there, because Mark formulated these supplements with other individuals that he knows within the industry, like Joel Green, who we've had on this podcast. So you guys should check out Within You. We have amazing whey protein, electrolyte supplements, we have fasting gum, and many other things on the website. Andrew, how can they check it out?
Yes, that's over at markbellslingshot.com, and at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject10 to save 10% off your entire order. Links to them down in the description, as well as the podcast show notes.
I thought in order to get the scale to have the number that I want, I have to eat less and move more.
if you do too much of that, then it can be really difficult. So the idea would be to have that down really, really well to the point where you don't feel overly hungry, you don't feel tired. That's where you have to really kind of pay attention to how much food you're eating, and you have to get to really know yourself a lot. And you have to get to really pay attention to, because you might have, and Nsima and I might be talking about how we eat 2 meals a day, and that might be light on us. Like that might not be very stressful for us. But somebody that has a 9 to 5 that they feel is stressful, and they're in a different part of their life, and they're just starting their lifting career, and like, it's just different for everybody, right? Like that might cost them a lot. It might be very difficult for them to do that, and they might feel tired all the time. If your output is not good, then something is off. And so if your output is good and you feel like you're lifting well and you feel like you're doing pretty good, then the next question to ask yourself is like, I kind of wonder where my body fat is, percentage wise. You don't have to even go get it checked necessarily, but I don't know, something simple. Do you have a vein in sight anywhere? You have veins in your feet. You have veins on the back of your hands. Do you have veins in your bicep? Can you see a vein in your shoulder when you're training? These are all things, especially for a guy, that you can kind of look at and track. How are your clothes fitting? Are you happy with the physique that you have? If you're not happy with it, then you can start to reduce the calories a little bit or reduce the overall amount of food. Or you can utilize what we talk about all the time here is protein leveraging. Eat a higher percentage of protein, cut back a little bit on the carbs and the fats, and you should be able to lose weight pretty quickly. But as Nsima pointed out, and I agree with this, and I think that this is a great kind of mantra for the podcast, is let's just get you to really hone in on your energy output. If you hone in on energy output, and if you hone in on basically trying to eat natural foods as much as you can, and sticking with that, then we're in a really good spot. And then just kind of dialing that in and adjusting the overall amount of food that we consume every day, I think that part get a little easier.
That's also why we talk a lot about nutrient-dense foods that make you full. Because we talk a lot about steak, ribeye, protein. If we use carbohydrates, it's usually carbohydrates have a good amount of fiber. You know what I mean? Because these foods, even though a ribeye isn't super low in calories technically, it's something that you eat a ribeye, you're feeling kind of full. You eat 2 ribeyes, that's actually not a crazy amount of calories, but you're really full, right? You got a good amount of fats, you got a good amount of protein, and you don't feel like you need to have excessive amounts of food. But instead, if we were to substitute calorie-dense foods, not nutrient-dense, calorie-dense foods like cereal, a lot of processed foods that people tend to overeat, like Doritos, etc. These foods that you can eat a lot of. Rice is good. Don't get me wrong. I eat rice, but it's something that I could eat a lot of in the absence of protein. So if I could have a lot of carbohydrates with that, I could fry it up, put some eggs in there or whatever, and I could get in a lot of calories.
We landed on fried rice again.
Seriously, and I love fried rice, but I make sure that the rice is the minimal aspect of it, because I'll make fried rice, right, with one of those Bibigo packets from Costco, that sticky rice stuff, right? But I'll have a lot of fucking eggs. I'll have a lot of fucking steak. And the rice is the minimum part of that, while the eggs and the protein are the things that are making me full. So that's what we're talking about. Nutrient dense, that doesn't tend to be crazy high in calories versus something that you can overeat. And each individual has to see and figure out what are the foods that when I eat, I tend to overeat them. Bacon's one of those things.
I think the other part of that is we're saying move more, move more, eat less, right? Is the kind of the thing that people say. I think it needs to be flipped. And I do think that people definitely need to move more. A lot of people need to explore going to the gym, and we need more people in the gym. Definitely a huge fan of that. We need more people walking, exercising, so forth.
Yes.
But I think the other side of that is to eat more. I think you want both of those. I don't think that you necessarily want to eat less. It's a matter of the food choices, though, being the critical part. If we're having juices and sodas and things that are real quick, easy calories, then we're going to be pretty fucked. So I think it's. Did you fart over there? What's going on?
No. I was smiling at Andrew. Because
Andrew's got a nice smile.
Andrew actually has a beautiful
So
smile.
you smiling towards him to get him to smile back? kind of
well,
thing?
whenever I smile
guys
at
flirting?
Trifecta of smiling. What's going on here?
Andrew,
Three-way?
A little love triangle.
Andrew knows something. During the podcast, you guys will see it in the screen. I'm a fucking kid. So whenever somebody says something that I'm like, oh, that's kind of sexual, I'll look over at Andrew. I'll always be like, and Andrew will look at me and we'll be like, and Mark's just sitting there like this, trying to stay as serious as
Like,
possible.
this is fucking bullshit.
I love it because I got like, man,
It's like back in school.
you see your buddy across the classroom like,
Like the teacher said penis. Did you hear that?
That was the worst when you're trying to hold your laugh in because you already got in trouble once and you're still like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
You just can't stop.
but there are also times where I look at Andrew and Andrew just doesn't even, he's just like, he's just super adult. I'm like, fuck, I'm the only kid.
Well, whatever it was just now, yeah, I was just paying attention. So, like, I didn't catch anything. Sorry.
Let's not worry about it.
Half the time he's farting, so I don't know.
This is true.
You do fart a lot.
I do fart a lot, and it's perfully okay.
I
It's
sent a
natural
text the other
human
day. I was
thing.
like, man, I can't stop farting even though I've been fasting all day. And Nsima's like, don't sweat it, man. I fart all the time.
yeah, it's something that everyone around me is probably used to. I never admit it, but it's just what it is.
Well, you have dogs you can blame it on now, right?
I do blame it on the
That's
dogs
great. God, these things are stinky.
because my
Dog farts are really bad, though.
they are
They're not human farts.
they are really bad. I know that's why they're perfect.
You still push it off on that?
Always,
It's like,
always.
it doesn't smell like a normal dog fart. Like, yeah, it must be something they're eating. I don't know.
So they eat the
They
same
get
thing.
into all kinds of stuff.
Oh man, dude.
Maybe I left something out that I shouldn't have and they got to it, you know?
Yeah, Doug.
We all of a sudden have kittens at my house.
Wait, really?
I know.
Like outside or inside?
Well, they were outside
Oh, no.
and now they're inside.
Oh, game over.
I know.
How'd they get inside though? What do you mean?
Jake, yeah, Jake saw a bunch of cats and they like scattered all over the place, and there was one that was like limping, and so he picked it up and like put it in his car, and then he like brought it in the house, and so then we're trying to like feed him, but like the cat that has like a little busted leg or whatever,
Yeah.
still fucking fast as shit. So we are trying to like give it some nutrition and then put it back outside. But it's not an easy thing. We can't even catch the fucking thing. The thing like went behind like this little refrigerator thing.
Yeah.
And Andy took like a picture of it.
It's all terrifying.
Yeah, it's like sitting in the corner over there. It comes out for food, but then we can't catch it to get it back outside. But anyway, we have them outside and they're eating food from a cage, and then we'll let them go later today.
You're not worried that this cat is like diseased?
No, I don't
Should
know.
be okay.
Probably.
Should be fine.
Just
All right.
be careful.
Y'all take whatever risks y'all want. Monkeypox out here killing people.
Oh, man. Back
What is
on
monkeypox?
track.
Well, it's transmitted by sex apparently.
Oh.
So we're good. like weird.
As long as none of us get it, we are all three good.
If I get monkeypox, I'm gonna look at my girl and be like, what the fuck you been doing?
I have a lot of sex. Oh, you're saying if it's with somebody else?
Yeah, it's people out here in these streets. You know, apparently in
Dirty
Florida.
motherfuckers in the streets.
Apparently in Florida, it's something that like
No
spread
way,
out of rave.
Florida.
Yeah, it's spread out of rave. You know, these single people out here getting their lives on. You know, so but out. You know, if I get monkeypox, or if you get monkeypox, or if you get monkeypox,
Somebody went outside the circle.
bruh, I'm looking
The
at you guys
circle jerk.
sideways.
That sucks. Somebody was just like, you know what? Florida's having way too much fun. Let's release this fucking monkeypox on them. That's bullshit.
Hey man, we need to be careful how much we say the M word before YT censors this video. We ain't trying to have that shit. We don't want a fucking banner at the bottom
Right,
saying the
yeah.
CDC says Mpox.
Did not come from Florida.
We don't need that. Dog, where were we? We were on a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I can just ask you guys. So, like Mark, you had said, you know, yes, we do need to move more. They're already tired though. Like they, you know, again saying like, maybe the 2 meals might be a little bit too much for you if you have your 8 to 5 job plus kids plus soccer practice plus everything, and now you're asking like maybe to move more. How can they do that?
I realize how difficult it might be for some people to, you know, to just start. Like it can be really, really fucking hard. So I'm never gonna downplay that. I understand how hard it can be. What I think is important is for people to like integrate or incorporate movement into their life. So I went to my daughter's volleyball game just the other day. They kicked ass. They did really well. I was really proud of her. It was an awesome experience. April and Callie, who both work here at Slingshot, they were the Quinn's coach. And so that was really cool to watch Quinn and my niece play volleyball and get better and better with every game. It was the last game of the year. But anyway, I saw some people there that brought soccer balls with them. They brought footballs with them. And I saw dads in the parking lot chucking a football around with their kids. I saw another guy chucking around a baseball with his son. And I saw a guy take a baseball and just chuck it up against the wall. It was an older guy. It was an adult. He was just because like his son didn't want to play with him anymore. So he's just sitting there like throwing the ball. And I was like, just against the wall. And I was like, oh, getting some exercise in? He's like, hell yeah. So whatever way you can get your exercise in, I think you just got to be careful you don't kind of lie to yourself with it. Because whatever amount of steps and whatever amount of movement you have right now, if you're heavy, you probably need to figure out a way to even get a little bit more of it. Obviously, if you're working out several times a week and you're doing a lot, then that excludes you. But for the people that are wanting to lose weight that haven't really entertained moving around that much yet, if you're like a farmer or a UPS guy or whatever, sometimes you hear people say like, man, I move around a lot already. And it's like, man, like what a shitty story I have to tell you that you still have to move around more because that's what your body's currently used to. But then that might also be a thing where you encourage that person to go into the gym. It's like if you spent your time having a little bit more muscle on your body, over the years, your metabolism will be raised up. And for every movement that you do, your muscle is going to require energy. So all those steps that you take every single day with an extra 5 pounds of muscle on you, you're going to burn more and more calories. So you try to sell them on those things. But I think the main thing is just to encourage people to figure out a way to incorporate it into their lifestyle. And you go back to the things that people really like or enjoy. Maybe they used to love to ride their bike. It's like, do that. Maybe they like to walk. Maybe they like to run. What did you used to do that you would probably still like to do? And also, what do you currently have access to? Because like maybe you used to love to surf, but you're way out of shape and you can't do it anymore. Well, you might have to kind of train to surf, but now you have a goal, and that's a really wonderful thing. So I think trying to incorporate it into your day-to-day is a big factor. And maybe have a friend, have a super friend that you lift with, have a super friend that you run with or walk with. I think all those suggestions could be something that can help get you started.
And then so if somebody has some pretty good habits laid out and they're like, I do want to see the scale go down and they do want to cut the calories down a little bit, Nsima, you have a pretty good way of explaining this. How much, whether it be percentage, number, whatever you want to call it, how far should somebody decrease their calories while keeping their output the same?
I want to first off cement that last part of that statement that you mentioned, keeping the output the same, because with how variable our lives can be, again, not every day is going to be the absolute same. For individuals who are bodybuilders or people who compete in these like shows, right? These people are making sure that they get a certain amount of steps each day. They have a plan that they're doing every single week. There are baselines that they get every single day so that when they look at the scale, it's like, I should be around here this week. I should be around here this week. And they're usually structuring their food in a way that the inputs are controlled and consistent and the outputs are controlled and consistent. This is great for people in bodybuilding and people in those sports, but this doesn't necessarily reflect people that are doing things outside of fitness where it's not their everyday life, although they want to have change. But the thing is how can we take some of those concepts from this realm of bodybuilding where you're controlling and having consistent inputs, you're having consistent outputs, and you're seeing consistent, regular scale change? Well, we can try to have minimum movement baselines. Okay, so wherever you are on the scale of starting your journey or you're trying to lose 10 pounds, whatever it may be, can you have a baseline for the minimum amount of something that you're going to do each day? On Apple Watches, there's like a stand, like how many hours you stand a day. But let's take it somewhere even lower. can you get a minimum amount of steps each day without fail? Okay, it doesn't need to start at 10,000. For some of us, or for some people, walking a mile is something that's kind of difficult. So can we at least make sure that we get a minimum of 3,000 steps or 4,000 steps each day? That's something that we're going to try to do every day without fail.
Remember, your iPhone tracks it too, just under the health part of it. If you just look at the little heart, you click on that, and the steps are right there.
Your iPhone tracks it, right? So can we get 3,000 to 4,000 steps each day? And to make it a habit, maybe you get those steps at lunch. Maybe you get those steps right after dinner. Can we make sure to do that, right? Some type of, making sure that you stand a certain amount of time when you're at your desk each day. I think these are things that if you ingrain them, they're going to be things that, okay, this is consistent. It doesn't change. And that'll allow you to have a more consistent, what you see on the scale is more consistent. So when you're at your desk, can you get up and move or stand for 10 minutes on every single hour? Try to do that so you're not perfectly sedentary. I think Huberman just did a podcast where he mentioned, it was like a few weeks ago, that versus, standing outside, like if you were to just get up every hour, you overall do better than if you were trying to just stand an hour and then sit for the rest of your shift. So making sure, just building in the habit of being on your feet, right? So if we can get some movement baselines in, that gives us some level of consistent output along with working out, whether you work out 2 days a week to 4 days a week, you can have those things that are consistent. Because then if you have some consistent outputs that don't change, you can make changes on those outputs. Because what happens for a lot of people is like, the scale isn't doing what they want the scale to do. But then they have no idea what the hell they're doing outside of maybe the stuff they're eating. They don't have a consistent baseline of the steps they take each day or the workouts they do. So they're like, fuck, what do I change? But if you have some just baselines, like let's say your goal is 10,000 steps each day, but you make sure that you have a contract with yourself to at least get in 5,000, then you can look and be like, this week I averaged around 6,000 steps. This next week I'm going to try to get to that 8,000. Okay. So consistent movement outputs are going to assure that you don't have as much variability on that scale. Now, as far as the inputs, because we've talked about trying to be in a caloric deficit, it's a little bit tougher if you don't track because you can't necessarily see all that food. But with all the things we've talked about in prior episodes about eating calorically dense foods, trying to eat at certain times of the day, eating real food to try to get your hunger in check, then what you can do, and I'm going to use Bruce as an example. Our homie Bruce is making some sick progress. He's consistently moving, but he was mentioning how the scale wasn't going down, which is why we're having this conversation today. So when I messaged him, he mentioned he's trying to walk a mile each day, but it's something he missed out on. So I said, just try to get in that minimum mile. He dropped a pound. But also when he talked about his nutrition, he's doing carnivore, which is great. He's having snacks, etc. But one thing that is potentially something that he could change is he might be having a lot of bacon. Now, even though that's carnivore, it's also calorically dense. It doesn't have a lot of protein for the amount of fat that's in it. And if you're going kind of ham with that type of food that's high in calories, that could be the thing that's putting you over and putting you in a caloric
Speaking
surplus.
of ham, if you just switched your bacon for ham, you'd get there.
Yeah.
Because ham is very lean.
Exactly, right? So you can still get something that tastes really good, but it's not as calorically dense, right? So you can bring that down. Now, for people that are tracking, if you're tracking, then you probably know where your maintenance caloric intake is. So take away 15% of that, or maybe 20% of that. If your maintenance caloric intake is 200 or 2,000 calories, maybe go to 10%. Go to 1,800 calories or go to 1,600 calories potentially. That could be if you're tracking 10% to 20% of your caloric intake, drop that down, and that'll give you a decent deficit to stick at for a while. But if you're not, and we've been talking about doing this without tracking, then what you want to do is you want to pay attention to the foods that you're eating that have a lot of calories and see if you can substitute that, for example, bacon and ham, right? Having a
leaner type of steak rather, ribeye.
Yeah.
Maybe you switch to a New York strip.
But for most people, it's not going to be the ribeye that's doing them in. For most people, it's something else that they might be snacking on excessively. It's not going to be something that like a ribeye is still like something that can make you full. You know what I mean?
Right. It's a burrito that has sour cream, cheese, and all the other stuff in it. You got to kind of pick one or the other.
Yeah.
Or none.
Yeah. So those are some things you can do. But I think that what you have to do is you need to really cement what is the minimum thing I'm going to try to do every single day without fail that I can do even on a stressful day. 5,000 steps. I think I can do that even if I have a fucked up day. 10,000 steps if it's a good day. 15,000 if it's a great day. But get those minimums in so that you don't have these big fluctuations.
And when it comes to walking and getting the steps in and how it relates to the scale, you might start to walk more and you might not notice much of a difference, but it might take a while.
It will.
Because even like 5,000 steps, just in the grand scheme of things, just isn't burning that many calories. So if you do an extra 5,000 steps, and even if you did it for 20 days, it might not have a massive impact. But over a period of time, 20 days, 40 days, 60 days, a whole entire year's worth, now we're really talking. And then also during that time period, maybe it bridged a gap for you that allowed you to tighten your diet up a little bit. Then you'll start to notice a huge impact. You tightened your diet up a little bit. Maybe you figured out a place to pull calories from that wasn't something that's limiting the output that you have, and you're still continuing to walk. So the other thing is when it comes to walking is it's not necessarily just the activity of walking that gives you the benefit. It's the fact that it's like almost like a meditative practice. Like I need you to like sometimes be by yourself. Now you can walk with somebody, but I think it's also important that people are with themselves and that they're with their own thoughts. I think one of the strongest things that an adult can do is to just trying to deal with like being a little bit idle, and I realize when you're walking, you're moving, but it is probably about as much meditation as some people may get that don't actually practice meditation. And it's a good opportunity to be alone with your own thoughts and to think your day through. After you go on walks for a while, I mean, you might start thinking of all kinds of different things. You might start reevaluating different aspects of your life, how you can make those better too. I found it just to be insanely beneficial. And then plus we have the sun. Like we cannot forget about the positive impacts of the sun. At this point, I'm convinced that the sun alone, just getting some sunlight over a period of time would have a positive impact on your metabolism, even if you just went outside and didn't necessarily walk. But I want to encourage you to walk and to move.
And also, we've been talking about not focusing on the scale, right? Well, by not focusing on the scale, your focus is going to go to other things, and it should. Things that you should be trying to pay attention to outside of just what the scale is doing is your performance. Now, as you're dropping weight, the amount of the weight on the bar might go down, but are you overall feeling better, feeling more energetic, you wake up feeling better, etc.? That's a good thing. How do your fucking clothes fit? Because one thing is that there have been so many people that I've worked with in the past, and people that mention this is like the scale like only moves a pound over a period of time, but the shirt fits better. There's less room in the belly. The arms are a bit more snug. The pants waist is looser, but I'm only a pound lighter. Why? Because your body composition is changing. This is a win. And a lot of people convince themselves, even though all these changes are happening, because the scale hasn't moved a certain amount, they're not making progress. When you're doing things in the gym and changing your body by gaining muscle, right? And you're eating a certain amount of food that's fueling your body, allowing you to gain muscle in certain areas, you will be losing fat in other areas. So as you're losing some fat around your belly area and your waist area, muscle is being added to those areas, right? So it's like the scale sees a drop of, or not the scale, but you see a drop of fat and then a gain of muscle. And let's say you dropped 5 pounds of fat and you gained 4 pounds of muscle. That's 1 pound of loss on the scale, but a massive difference you see in the way your clothes fit. You mentioned something that's really dope with the belt. Like it was the weight, like
the way your lifting belt fits.
Your lifting belt fits, right?
Yeah, you can kind of just see like we have belts. I don't even know if they're still made this way, but our belts have like numbers on them. Yeah. And you could see like which hole you're in. And, if you're all the way at the end of that belt, well, maybe it's time to go on a diet. If you're all the way at the other end of the belt, maybe it's time to eat a cheeseburger.
No, seriously. And then do not neglect compliments from people. Now, not everyone's gonna compliment you, but there's so many people that like they'll see you after a few weeks, or they'll see you every few days and be like, hey, Bob, what the fuck? What are you doing? You're getting more jacked, or you're looking different, or Lisa, you're looking this way. Those things aren't just people commenting and trying to be nice. You see yourself every day in the mirror. So although your body's making all these changes and the scale may not be reflecting those changes, people on the outside that do not see you every second of every day notice those things. I noticed when you were changing your body and you weren't having much of a difference on the scale, like, God damn, Andrew, you're looking more fucking bulked up. We noticed that because we don't see you. Like we weren't seeing you all the time perpetually like you see yourself. But you, and this happens to me too, we don't see these things since we always look at ourselves. So do not neglect and don't put those behind you. And then there's one thing. Our boy Matthew Balcom was in the Discord, and he mentioned how there's this woman that was because he was gaining muscle, and she's like, "Oh, you're looking fatter." Like, yo, okay. Some people are just fucked up. It's like, mean. That's fucking mean, right? But this is the thing. It's like, as you're working out in the gym, when you get new stimulus, you'll gain muscle, right? Certain areas you're going to gain muscle in, and certain areas you're going to lose fat in. This is why, like, you can't use only the scale as the metric of progress. It's going to, you got to focus on a bunch of other things, because when the scale's not winning, where are the other places where I can have these wins?
Yeah, and then obviously don't compare yourself to others. You know, my wife will host or sometimes join, you know, groups where it's like a group challenge or whatever, and I think so far, and from what I can see from the outside, it's very positive because you guys hold each other accountable and whatnot. But then inevitably somebody will reach out and be like, how come this person's losing so much more weight than me?
Faster. That
sort of thing. And so it's like, there's so many different variables, right? But just wanted to point it out that, like, yeah, don't compare yourself either. Like, don't put too much weight into somebody saying you look a certain way, and also don't put too much weight into trying to figure out why that person looks a certain way.
Yeah. And another thing not to forget is like how stressed you are. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's huge.
We've talked so much about like breathing and calming down and sleep, but like these things can't be understated. You know, if you have constant anxiety and you're constantly stressing, the amount of cortisol that you just have running through you perpetually, that's messing with your sleep, and that is actually making you hold on to excess water that you don't even realize, like, that's a factor. There's this thing called the whoosh effect, which actually some people were talking about in Discord, but the amount of times when, I was working with somebody, or somebody, you know, they're not losing weight for a while, but then they just take a week and just calm the fuck down. Whether they, like, you know, just relax each night, they don't go as hard in the gym, or they just start getting some more sleep. And even though their output may have not been as much, they for some reason lost 5 pounds on the scale. That's not 5 pounds of fat that they magically lost in a week. It's just like they're less stressed, less cortisol, less water that they're holding on to, and their body's like,
yeah, they're not at work in fight or flight, like, perpetually.
Yeah. So these things we talk about for breathing and sleep and all that shit, like, these are other habits that come into play that can make a difference on the scale.
Got to be nice to yourself while you're doing this.
Yeah.
Andrew, take us on out of here, buddy.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for checking out today's episode. Please drop us some more questions down below in the YouTube comment section there. And make sure you guys like today's episode and subscribe if you guys are not subscribed already. Please follow the podcast at MB PowerProject on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. My Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter is at I am Andrew Z. Nsima, where you at?
Come join the Discord, because the community is super cool and positive over there. Like, we haven't had to kick anybody out.
And this is where we got today's topic.
It's where we got today's topic. And, you know, come join the Discord, because a lot of cool stuff's going on there. We're probably over 1,200 members now. So gracias. At Nsima Inyang on Instagram and YouTube, at Nsima Inyang on TikTok and Twitter. Mark?
I'm at Mark Smelly Bell. Strength is never weakness. Weakness never strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.
Nailed it.
Bang.
Every time.